Dream Parlor, a novelization by Christopher Andrews, based on the original screenplay by Christopher Andrews and Jonathan Lawrence. Do your workload. The Data Processing Center, a tall, imposing primary computer core with octopus-like tentacles of data conduits splayed out in all directions, cold, featureless walls, a ceiling that rose into eternity, or so it seemed, poor air circulation, temperature pitched low for optimum efficiency, for the core, of course, not the humans at work, almost crowded, yet the conversation kept to an absolute minimum. A fairly typical job environment for working-class confirmed citizens. The numb, slack-faced citizens, their glassy-eyed stares shifting only occasionally with the barest hint of head movement, sat at workstations poised in a circle around the core. Each station consisted of a spherical, glowing red retinoscope lit from within. The citizens' right arms rested upon angled slopes, their hands encased within organic interface gel. The gelatin interacted with their IDCs, the cybernetic fibers working against the similar nodes in the housing tube of each chip. The muscles and tendons of their hands flexed and contracted at different intervals as the citizens inputted various commands, while their free left hands manipulated glossy white trackballs protruding from the tabletop. At one of the confined workstations on the far side of the octagonal room, a single masculine right hand was not in its gel, but instead using a stubby, chewed-on pencil to create the likeness of an ethereal woman, the outline of her blank face nothing more than delicate markings. The owner of the artistic hand leaned forward to examine the fruits of his labor and, in doing so, stretched to the point where a small wooden cross pulled from the confines of his collar, dangling the keepsake into view. Glancing around the room, more from habit than out of any real fear that the surrounding zombies would notice, Eli covered his father's cross and stuffed it back into his shirt. Deciding it would be less conspicuous if he retied the cord later, he tugged his heavy peacoat more snugly around him and returned his attention to the sketch. Beside Eli, his station partner, Jacob Moore, pulled his hand from the interface gel. He stretched the kinks out of his neck and rubbed his tired eyes, then threw a worried glance at his artistic co-worker. A moment later, Eli felt the disapproving stare. "Do your workload," Jacob chided in a hushed whisper. Eli shrugged at his nervous friend. "I'm finished," he whispered back. Jacob shifted uncomfortably, then scolded, "Don't rock the boat!" He returned his hand to his interface gel, red light refracting off his glasses as his computer reactivated. Eli almost resumed his drawing when he felt another pair of eyes. He looked to the next station to his right, where another friend, Dana Levy, frowned at him. If she heard their exchange, then they had been talking too loud. The last thing he needed was a lecture from Ruth, their department head, on the finer points of station efficiency. She was about as warm as the DPC itself. Dana shook her head, then followed Jacob's lead back into cyber limbo. When they were both once again engrossed in their duties, Eli glanced around the still, silent workplace and decided that it was indeed time to return his attention to another job at hand. Let's see, where did I dream? Oh yes, death row tonight. From his right sleeve, Eli produced a thin wire with a narrow electrode tip. He deftly ran the wire underneath his palm, then up through his fingers, snapping the end into the interface housing of his IDC. He then placed his arm upon its rest and slid his hand into the gel. Responding to Eli's call, the computer eye brightened. Fingers of red light stretched out for him like a spider spinning a web. As the scope reacted with the nerve endings of his retinas, Eli perceived a flash of white. Within the private electrostatic world of cyber limbo, floating through swirls of data and information that his mind subjectively interpreted as concrete images it could work with, Eli floated in the crowded vacuum, face to face with a facsimile of himself. "Data entry request," Eli thought at his doppelganger. "Access current running files within execution channel database." "Accessing," the computer Eli responded. The execution channel, a sadly popular television program, publicly executed political prisoners, or any other brand of troublemakers, in a variety of creative ways before a live studio audience. The broadcasting network supported a state-of-the-art security system that its designers claimed would revolutionize cyber limbo. Eli had cracked it on his fourth attempt. "Running file," the computer Eli reported. "Non-citizens to be terminated and deleted from system. Now transferring current lists for execution channel. Document complete. Enter additional IDC numbers. Receive uploads now." Eli's left hand released the trackball and moved up his right sleeve, following the trail of the wire. Hidden from sight, he pressed something that clicked. "Warning," the other Eli suddenly stated with increased volume and lowered pitch. "Virus introduced into system. Imminent data loss. Creating backup file." "No," Eli ordered. "Do not create backup file." The computer Eli fell silent. The image flickered for a brief moment, then announced, "Data has been lost. File system damaged. Do you wish to continue?"